The game of chess. Made in around Arabia around 2,000 years ago, it's a game of much complex strategy with positional and attacking play. A romantic game at heart, really. Just like me, romantic at heart. I mean, like, my grandma was so old, I'm pretty she always looked like she came right out of a war. Wait. She did come out of war. Okay. So, originally it was called Shatranj, but, like, now it's called chess, and it used to have elephants instead of bishops before it got Christianized. How can you start playing today? Well, if you're a normal person, you can use the internet and search chess.com or Lichess, enter it into your browser, and click play. It's pretty easy. But something a little more complex, what if you want to play in person? You're going to need a board for that. A little behind the scenes, really self-conscious recording this because I don't want people to just look at me recording this. I like biking by. I'm weak. Quick question, do you guys have chess sets?
Chess sets, okay. We might have some on aisle 5.
Okay.
If they're not there, then we do not have them.
Didn't have chess sets. My life is over. And then I remembered I had some at home. But I did get one thing out of this experience. And that was a meat stick. I love jerky, so. Glowing right now. Cheese is here? That's stupid. Okay. So let's move on to the first chess piece, and that would be the pawn. The pawn can move 2 spaces forward and can capture diagonally. I always used to think of it when I was a little bit younger, when my dad taught me, of it as like a Spartan warrior that goes side to side, blocking attacks from the front. Okay. Anyway. Love your symphony. So basically, let me just get a little lower. Yeah, they move 2 forward and capture diagonally. That's how powerful these guys are. Some of the pros, these guys are like the foundation of the game. They like lay out the rest of the game for you. Basically, like, without these guys, your king would die because they're the defenders, the frontliners. And a lot of the time you can put them in little V formations to make them very stable. They're basically what leads your army. Also, you can do a niche move called so, but you need to be French to do that. So, you're French. I'm very sorry for you. So basically it moves 2 forward. If a pawn moves 2 forward and it lands to the pawn of an opposite color, it can capture it like that. Or it can capture it diagonally as if it had only moved 1 square on the diagonal square. But you can only do this the first turn that the pawn moves 2 squares. Up on our list is the king. Kind of the cock of the chess world. Where was I? Oh right, king. Basically, he sounds pretty cool, but he's kind of weak. He moves like one square in every direction. He can move every direction, but only one square. He's kind of like a piece later on this list. If you broke both of their legs and then put them in a wheelchair, and then cut off their arms and their head, and they just slowly like migrated because they got decomposed into the earth. He moves one square in every direction, but you gotta protect this guy. Out on to check and checkmate. Check is basically when another piece is attacking the king, where you will either have to move it or block with a piece to get it out of danger. When the king is attacked and it has no legal moves to play and nothing that it can block with. Oh, and there's a third step. Check. Spicy. After the piece that's given, then you stop it. Next we got the tower. Move in straight lines in every direction. Up, down, left, up, and right. Despite they move up, down, left, and right, and then they move in straight lines, just like me. Straightest dude you'll ever meet. Straight. Yeah. So basically, they have a special move called castles, which is why they look like castles, like literal castles. With the king, if they have not moved, the king will move 2 squares in one direction, left or right, and the rook will hop right over onto the other side of the king. However, the king and rook cannot have moved, and there may be no pieces that are intercepting it. So something like that would be shown on screen right now. Next we got the bishops. They move to the side diagonally, basically. The way I remember that is Diagon Alley. Diagonally. And these guys, they will snipe you off the board from the corner without you even realizing they're there. Like, I could just capture a pawn and then I get like fucking, I get shot. Just move as long as they want. Bishops, they are like the right hand of the king besides the queen herself. They move, they're like the advisors, so they're next to the king and queen. They move diagonally in every direction as far as they can go without running into another piece or hopping over another piece. Thankfully, these guys are, even though they have a great scope, they're stuck to half of the board. They can only see one square color, as they always start on that color square and they're stuck to that color square. However, this does not remove from the effectiveness of the bishop. Finally, we got the queen, the badass queen. Of course, I'd want to be her. Basically, she can move wherever the hell she wants. She moves as far as she wants in every direction. It's like you took the rook and the bishop and combined them together. It's like you took the king, put him on steroids. The queen is the center point. The most beautiful piece in the game, in a way. The most powerful. And back in like the 1500s, when Queen Elizabeth was around and they wanted a way to honor them. So, to honor Queen Elizabeth, not Elizabeth, some queen, queens were more prominent in Europe around the 15th, 16th century, they made the queen the most powerful piece to respect them in chess. We got the knight. This guy, he's probably one of the most complex moving on its own. It moves 2 in every direction, up, right, left, and down, like a knight. However, it does not land on those squares. Then you would move 1 diagonally to the side. So it's like an L shape. And it'll move 3 squares up, 1 to the side. And this kind of will form, it has 8 squares to move at maximum. And oftentimes you can get stuff called forks. These got horses, by the way. The horses, the knights, I mean, they look like horses. They are horses in most depictions. Like, and the knight is just microscopic, is my theory. How some of these pieces move. You should probably know some of the strategies. For example, in the opening, probably the most complex part of the game. Maybe not the most complex, but there's almost an infinite amount of openings to chess. On move 4 alone, there's over like 10 to the 25th power, 250th power, I mean. It moves. A lot of moves. However, there's only one thing you need to know. Develop your pieces towards the center 4 squares. Let's say your opponent does a bunch of dumb things in the opening and moves a knight back and forth the whole time. You're going to want to put 2 pawns in the center, develop the knights to f3 and c3, bring those bishops out, then you're going to want to castle your king to get out of the center to keep your king safe. Basically, you want to develop your pieces whenever you can towards the center, because the center is where the action's at. For example, the golden box setup is shown on the screen. It is good to put 2 pawns in the center if your opponent allows you to. And if they don't, just develop a knight, and then your bishop, and then castle. Develop maybe another bishop, and that's all. Some other tactics includes forks, pins, squares, and discoveries. I will explain what some of those are, maybe. Every piece has a relative value, so to know how you're winning. It's a way to tell how you're generally doing. For example, pawns are worth 1 point of material. Another thing is that, knights and bishops are worth 3. They're worth about even material. Bishops being a little better because they can see more squares. But knights are the only pieces that can hop over other pieces, so that makes them supremely useful. The queen is worth 9 points of material. The rook is worth 5. And the king is worth the game, so you don't want to lose him. And by the way, you are forced to move the king if in check.